Welcome to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Croc, and every Monday, I talk to someone here in North Idaho with the goal to connect more people in the Coeur d'Alene area. And then every Friday, I talk to someone outside the community to bring in a new perspective and to learn a little bit about yourself. All right, I've got a special guest with me today, Tesa. I have known for a long time, actually, now that I think about it, Boys and Girls Club. Used to take your daughter to Boys and Girls Club, so I've known you from when I worked there, and then got to know you later on in life a little bit longer through what you do. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So first of all, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do for work. I think what you do is really amazing and super fun and super, I don't know, fulfilling, I would say. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I was born in Kasilof, Alaska. I was raised there my whole life. I've lived in Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls area since 2008. I managed dental offices and worked in dentistry and dental assisted, all the dental things I did for about 12 years. But I was born a medium. So now I have my own practice and I do all kinds of wonderful things. I channel, obviously, as a medium. I'm a spiritual therapist. I'm a life coach. So I do all kinds of counseling, therapy, life coaching, and then channeling. So it really just depends on what my clients are looking for. Yeah. Most of my clients are looking for to connect to souls.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I mean, we were talking about that. So what does it mean to be like, so you're saying you're certified, correct?
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
So in 2022, I passed a 6-week quintuple blind screening administered by scientists and psychologists, enabling me to become a certified medium. There's a small group of certified mediums in the United States, and I'm excited to be one of them.
You're one of them.
Yeah.
So grateful to know you. So, and you now are speaking to groups of people. Let's go more into that and what that kind of, I guess, lean into that and let us know what you're speaking on, what you're talking to these large groups of women. So yeah, tell us a little more about that.
Well, a couple of things, but the most primary thing is soul care, not to be confused with self-care. Okay. The difference there, it kind of seems silly, but self-care is about self, physical health or bubble baths, getting your nails done. It's about self, where soul care is about soul, like connection in our inner being. And I personally think soul care is the most overlooked self-care that there is.
Oh, for sure. And so yeah. I think that is a good point, because we get that confused. We're like, oh, that means we're self-care. Like you need a self-care day, or you need to like you said, go to the spa, go get get your nails done, makes your self feel better or feel, relaxed. But I love that little deeper meaning, which is the soul, like really getting in there. So you teach people how to do the soul care, correct?
Yes.
What does that look like?
Well, I think it can be different for everybody. There's not really rules to soul care, but I will say, with my ability, like I have found, without soul care, no amount of self-care is ever enough. Mm-hmm. And I think people get lost in that. So, and what I mean by that is I see a lot of people running from one thing to another, and you can move all the way to Moldova and you're going to run out of places to run to, because you can't run from yourself. And usually that emptiness or that longing or that trying to fill a void is generally a lack of soul care. That is really the primary source of why I see that. And I've channeled thousands of souls from every hierarchy of life, every religion, blue collar, celebrity, different belief systems, different backgrounds. And I have found in every facet, there are three things every soul on the planet, no matter what area of the country you live in, three things every soul is longing for: love, connection, and comfort.
Mm.
And it doesn't come from the world.
Mm.
It comes from our inner being. And that's why it's so important to me to talk about this subject, is because I want to help people understand that and find that, so they're not so lost in life.
Mm.
So soul care can be church, it can be meditation, it could be journaling, it could be gardening, it could be grounding, prayer, disconnecting from your phone, from social media for small amounts of times, just going inward and doing the work, connecting with yourself, connecting with source. Whatever that is, whatever beliefs you have, or creating your own beliefs, whatever it is that you want to anchor into it, and check back with that place often. You know, you can go self-care day with the girls at the spa, but if you're not doing the soul care, it kind of feels like it's never enough.
Yeah.
Like you just have a self-care day and you're like, well, that I need another one, because
Yeah.
you're not doing the other care. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, I mean, I've talked to people about it. I talked to my therapist about it, how important it is, even when I meditate for like 5 minutes, how different my day is from just like, even just 5 minutes of meditation, or like you said, grounding. And you're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to feel.
Yes. I feel like soul care really encourages us to be a better balanced person in general.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Tabitha, soul care takes courage.
Mm.
It does. It takes courage. You have to be brave to do soul care.
That makes sense completely. And like prioritizing that time as well. Like you're like, oh, I'll get to it. Like I do that all the time. It's like I'm gonna start my day with meditating, because that's where I really love to do. But like you're like, oh wait, I have to go to the gym and I have to go do this and I have to, you go, and then you're like, I'm tired. I don't have time for that. But you have to make it a priority.
Yes. Yes. Also in soul care, not some people, I have some clients, and I've met plenty of people, they don't want to sit with themselves.
Mm. It's just hard.
They want to run. They'd rather find other distractions than sit with themselves.
Because it's hard.
Yeah. But then I see those people like, Tesa, why am I so unhappy? Well, I feel like we've been over this.
So
Yeah. And
you teach these people, your clients, how to do this.
I encourage it. I give them examples, depending on the person I'm seeing, right? It's kind of tailored to the client I'm seeing and their lifestyle, or even their background, what blocks they have. I can't really teach somebody soul care. They have to want to do it and be willing to do it, but I can give them the tools to do it.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because everybody is so different.
Yes.
And each soul needs something different.
Mm-hmm. And some people just get stuck and disconnected from their souls. They block it out. And a lot of that I've seen comes with trauma. Like I've heard it all. I've heard every type of trauma that you can possibly think of. And I think trauma sometimes blocks people's connection to their own inner being.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, like, I've faced so many hardships and broken relationships and heartache and loss and grief. And all of that has kind of disconnected them from themselves. And sometimes, like, I've even heard people say, I think I'm cursed or something, like nothing works out for me, or I have a hole and I'm sure you've heard this, like I have a whole family, a whole generation of alcoholics or abuse or neglect, like a generational curse that they think that, oh, well, this is just has to be my life. And I think like families, like that idea of family hardships being passed down can get in the way of people too, finding themselves. But I think that even if you have generations of abuse or neglect in your family or just in your own life, if hardships and suffering can be handed down, so can healing.
Mm.
And if trauma can be passed from the physical world onto your spiritual self, so can healing.
Mm.
And I think people forget that.
Mm.
And that's what I like to highlight.
And that's what you've been speaking on as well, as all of this, and which can be, I mean, obviously people are wanting to hear this and wanting to know more, I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's really important to nurture the way you speak to yourself and really look at the beliefs you're anchored into. What are you telling yourself? What makes you happy? Are you following that, or are you running from that? Are you avoiding that? Because you will run out of places to run.
That's so true.
And that's usually when my phone starts ringing.
I've been running and I don't know where else to go. You're like, well,
you.
Yeah,
It's you. Kind of like, and I believe in soulmates, as far as partnership, but I also really believe we're our own soulmates.
I think that's perfectly put, and I think that's how more people should look at it that way. Like that's who you're with all the time. It's yourself.
Yeah.
And so you should love yourself. That should be who you're in love with.
Yes. So I think a good balance between self-care and soul care is really ideal. You know, both are essential to just overall well-being.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good. That's great. I mean, so I have, like I said, I have a few fun questions or questions about you.
Yeah.
You know, I always ask this to anyone I interview, whether it's male, female, if someone has a calling or wants to do something or feels the same way you are in doing that kind of work, you know, what is kind of advice you would give to someone that is kind of right there? Do you have advice for someone that is going down the same path as you or similar, you know?
I don't know if it's advice or maybe a question I would leave them to sit with is, what is your why? Know your why. Why do you want to do this? To make an impact, to touch people's lives, or to get out of your 9 to 5 that you can't stand because you want to have your own schedule, which if you are working for yourself, I think we all know, all business owners, you actually work more than you did when you worked a 9 to 5.
Like, we should have started this podcast with how many times we rescheduled this interview, because your schedule, my schedule, I mean, I do have a job, but I also do other stuff. So it's like you pack your schedules full and you're like, oh
yes. And I think people are like, I want to work for myself and have all this freedom. No, that's not what's going to happen.
Right. And I've been to your like group readings before, and you're like showing up at 6:00 at night for 2-3 hours. And so you're not getting home until super late. Like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes when you're a business owner.
The day before yesterday, so Tuesday, I did 4 1-hour sessions and then went to a group reading and did 9 ladies. So I feel like definitely know your why. Know your why. It's not really advice, just think about it. Yeah. Why do you want to do this? Because make sure it's for the right reasons, because and you have to be able to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? sacrifice, like we just talked about, sacrifice freedom, sacrifice sleep, sacrifice maybe family get-togethers, or like, you know, my dating life suffers. You have, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it.
Well, and that's a great point. I mean, just start there, and then the rest of the stuff can fall into place. You can find coaches, you can find people to help you get to where you need to be. But that's a good point. It's just, why are you doing this?
Know your why, and be realistic.
And like you said, if you want to create your own schedule, great. But also, it's going to be the best schedule all the time.
Yes.
So I have a couple more. Let's go a little more fun question. Favorite restaurant in Coeur d'Alene area? So actually North Idaho. So the whole.
Okay. Tony's on the Lake.
Yeah. Have you been in since they remodeled?
No, I haven't been in. I heard they just reopened.
Yeah, so they had new owners and they remodeled it, and it looks, I haven't been in, but I saw the photos and it looks gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to go.
So are you currently reading a book?
Yeah, I am. It's actually it's Loving What Is.
Ooh.
Have you heard it?
No, I have not. Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. I highly, highly recommend it.
I love to know what people are reading. It's always, selfishly, I'm like, what should I be reading? Is it good?
Yes, it's a very good book.
So, biggest pet peeve.
Oh, God. How much time do we have? I have a list.
It was funny because I have some people that are like, I don't like, get a little more deep with me. And then there's some people like, I can't stand when they don't put the grocery carts away at the grocery store.
Yeah. Biggest pet peeve. Time management. Like anywhere, whether it's just people with a lack of time management drives me nuts.
And then they show up late, or they're like, oh wait.
Wait, how many times did we reschedule this? I feel like a hypocrite.
I mean, I didn't say it. You said it.
Time management's a pet peeve. I just maybe like that's a pet peeve. Like I don't know. Actually, I feel like if you asked my daughter this, she would go on for hours probably.
Mom is like this. Mom doesn't like this.
Yeah.
Road rage. My favorite.
Like at the top of my head, I can't think of anything right now, even though I know there's a lot.
Well, that's why, like, I interviewed one of my friends, Sammy, and she was like, well, like we've always talked about, but like people that like just leave their grocery carts in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
And then it rolls and hits someone's car, or like it's just not being nice. Like, put your grocery cart away. Don't make this guy have to go all over the parking lot to pick up all these grocery carts.
Yes. Or if you rearrange the grocery store, like that's a weird.
When they do and everything just changes, and you're like, no, I don't have time.
I can't shop here anymore.
I don't have time to go refind everything.
Yes. One of my biggest irrational fears is Costco on Sunday.
Or right before the Super Bowl.
Yes. Probably Costco ever, but really on the weekend.
Yeah, you don't go on the weekends. You go early, midweek, and you're good.
I have a strange irrational fear about going to Costco. Like every time I pull in there, like I'm just gripping the steering wheel.
I think a lot of people or people will be like, I'm like, oh, what are you doing? They're like going to Costco. And I'm like, because that's like their whole day. Like, they're like, we don't know what's going to happen at Costco. So we got to block out a big chunk of the day because you don't know what's going to happen at Costco.
Yes. And when I have to go there, it's like always on the bottom of my, that can wait till tomorrow again.
And then you're like, I have to go now. Like, I have to.
Yeah, now I have to.
That is funny. So I know you have a little bit different probably an answer to this, but if you could sit down, you're at Tony's and you get to have dinner with anybody you want. It can be dead, alive, past, current, whoever you want to. Who would you have dinner with?
Jesus. I mean, really, because I feel like he was one of the greatest light workers that ever walked the earth. When I say light worker, it's because that's what he did. He taught love and light. there's lots of light workers. There's Reiki masters, there's shamans, there's mediums, there's lots of different types of light workers on earth. He was the greatest one there was. I would love to pick his brain on some things.
So you and Jesus are having dinner at Tony's.
Yeah.
What is
I would reschedule that. Show up on time and everything, bells and whistles on.
So, what is something people would be surprised to know about you?
Oh, I'm a good cook.
Ooh.
Cooking.
I was like, do we get an invite to over to have dinner?
But it depends on what I cook. Like my daughter would maybe disagree sometimes that I'm a good cook. It depends because I like to cook all kinds of different cuisine.
And what's your favorite cuisine to cook?
Right now, Thai.
Mm.
Thai food.
I just had some amazing pad Thai, and I am the same. I love Thai. It's so good.
Yeah, like a couple of months ago, I was like into Haitian food and like figuring out how to make doubles and like it. Yeah, I'm a nerd that way.
I love it. Do you ever go to cooking classes?
No.
They have them at Culinary Stone. I always want to go, and like they teach you all these unique things. I'm always like, I want to do that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I haven't always been a good cook, but when I started like getting really into it and passionate about it, I think, yeah, I've become one.
That's awesome.
Another thing I think people are surprised to learn about me is like I'm a history buff. I love history.
Really?
Like anything like historical trivia.
Oh, so you take you to trivia nights is what we need to do.
Well, if it's about history, if you're asking me anything else, probably I won't be a good teammate.
So they start asking sports questions and
oh God, no. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how people can get a hold of you, whether it's wanting to book you maybe to speak at an event, or if it's to actually do like your group sessions or one-on-one or any of the life coaching. How do people get a hold of you? How do they connect with you?
Well, most people connect with me on social media, really. Okay. I'm just Tesa Harster on Facebook or Instagram. I have a website, The Angel Campaign. It needs a facelift, though. I need to figure out how to get that handled.
That's the one you don't prioritize. That's the one that's like the last thing on your list. You're like, mm-mm.
Yeah, I really haven't prioritized it because no one really ever connects with me through it.
It's crazy. That's everyone's like, we need these and there's businesses and things that need websites. You need to have those.
Yeah.
But social media, it is wonderful for being a free tool. I think for like you're able, people can message you straight up and you're like, hey, let's book a time. Here's this, mm-hmm. And it makes it quick and easy, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the #1 marketing tool in the world, social media.
And it's pretty easy to use if you can know the basics. It's pretty, throw a photo up there, do some hashtags, share your life, share a story like that. People just want to connect that way.
Yeah.
So, kind of, we'll kind of wrap it up with this question is, so as we know, mental health people are struggling, right? And I know you're dealing with that with some of your group stuff. What is the kind of advice you would give someone that's really struggling right now with their mental health?
I'm going to have to loop it back around to soul care. I mean, honestly, it depends on why, first of all, obviously it depends on why, but are you taking care of your soul? Mm-hmm. Is there something you're not listening to? Is there a lesson you're not learning? Is there a pattern you're refusing to break?
Yeah.
So it does depend on why, but I've seen a lot of people struggling with mental health that are just simply repeating patterns. Cycles they're refusing to break, healing they're not willing to do. maybe they're like, oh, I need to see a therapist, and I go once and that didn't help, so I'm never going again. Well, that's
That is, you can't do that. I'm going to tell you what, you do
you
that.
have to keep going.
And it gets hard, but
Yeah.
then there's really good sessions that make it really worth it. So
It depends on how bad you want to get out of this struggle with your mental health. You have to be willing to do the work and not quit, not put it down when it gets hard.
ooh, that's a good tagline right there. Don't put it down when it gets hard.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So do you have anything else to tell us, or you think we need to know about you or what you do?
Oh, I think what I do is really, I'm lucky to be able to share this gift with people and serve others with it. I sometimes I think, why me?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have if I, as you know, I was born this way. There are definitely times I'm like, I wouldn't ever in a million years would have picked me
Yeah.
to do this job because it comes with a lot of responsibility. But I'm very grateful and blessed, and I feel lucky every day. And like people will thank me, and I'm like, no, it's a gift.
Yeah.
It really is.
We'll get to connect, and there some I've been there, and magic happens when you're in the room. So we're
Thank
lucky
you.
that I'm lucky I know you along with a tons of my friends and family. So we're grateful that you're in our community.
Yes, I'm humbled to be out here sharing love and light with anyone that wants it, anyone that needs it.
Well, thank you so much, Tesa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hope you have a great time in Mexico.
Thanks for listening to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Crock, and every Monday I release a podcast about different community members here in North Idaho. And then we end the weeks on Fridays with a podcast about the things I'm passionate about: outdoors, adventures, sports, the van life, and even current events. So if you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. Thank you again. Now go be kind and do something great.